What's going on, everybody? This is Paul, your hip hop relationship and recovery coach, coming to you again with another episode of Kick Your Butt Out. As usual, before I get into my podcast, I'm going to always say this. If you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. And so with that being said, when I thought about put together today's podcast, I thought about, marriage when it comes to relationships, because that's one of the ways that we navigate in relationships is through marriage, right? And so I thought about marriage, and I thought about some of my experiences with marriage. And for all of you who don't know me, and maybe people who do, I always say it like this when it comes to my experience. I've had 3 weddings, 2 divorces, 1 marriage. I'll sit that there. You can think on that. If you want to have a conversation about it, I'll be more than willing to share with you what I mean by that. However, when I thought about marriage, I thought about how leading up to the marriage, preparing for the wedding, we pour so much time, effort, resources, energy, our spirit into preparing for the wedding. The perfect dress, the perfect cake, the perfect, the perfect DJ, the perfect venue, the bridesmaids, the groomsmen, the perfect suits and attire for them. Just wanting everything, the flowers, you name it. We do everything that we pour all of our energy, effort, finances, and everything possible into making sure that we have this perfect wedding. But one of the things that many of us miss in that process is preparing for the marriage. We do everything to prepare for the wedding, but we don't do nothing to prepare for the marriage. And then we wonder why we end up in divorce. And so because of that, I've decided to title today's episode of Kick Your Butt Out, but what about the marriage? So let's get going. Again, I'm going to talk about my experiences with this so that you all won't feel like I'm talking about you. In many cases, I will be talking to you because I'm sure that some of the things that I'm going to share, you can relate to as well. All right, so let's get going. My first wedding was with, by the time I got married, we had been together 13 years, had 5 children, and I had came to know Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And so I was in love with or excited about the idea of doing it the way that God wanted and intended for us to do it. Because one of the scriptures in the book of Proverbs, it says this: if a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. I wanted that scripture to manifest itself inside of my relationship. Because, let me say this, y'all. Again, this was one of my experiences, and I know many of you out there are having the same experience, and I want to help you get out of this experience so that you can obtain the favor of God. If you are living together, if you're in a relationship and you're doing the things that married people do, you're doing your relationship like it's a marriage, and you're not married, brother and sister, you are not under the favor of God. You're under His mercy. You're not under the blessings of God. You're under His mercy. So get up under the blessings, I encourage you. Under the blessings and under the favor, so you won't have to worry about being up under the mercy of God. I'm going to sit that there. I'm going to let you think about that. So back to my story. I was excited about doing it the way that God wanted us to do it. That was number 1. Number 2, we had been together 13 years and we got all of these kids together. So why not? And there was some love. in between us, but there was a lot of, looking back, there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of dysfunction that went on between the two of us. Didn't know it at the time. However, I know it now. And so we went and decided to have a wedding. We had a wedding. And looking back, I feel like moments after we said we do, we started saying subconsciously we don't. Because it felt like our marriage from the second that we said we do was well on its way to divorce. We started working on a divorce right then and there. Didn't know it. However, looking back, I realized it. And one of the reasons why is that we didn't prepare for the marriage. We didn't prepare for the marriage from a perspective of the two shall be one. And so the thing is, she has a need, I have a need, We didn't tap into or figure out or investigate, study, or anything about what it was that marriage was supposed to be like, because one of the reasons is that we saw so many other marriages and we mimicked what those marriages was like. Just as long as you married and doing right by God through being married, everything else gonna be okay. Not true. Not true. We were married, we had a wedding, but there was no marriage. And ultimately, both of us played a part. Both of us played a part in the marriage being dissolved. And one of the reasons why I want to say this again is because we did everything we needed to do except prepare for what a marriage is supposed to be like. I didn't know her need. She didn't know my need. I took her for granted. She thought she could change me. No, you name it, so much dysfunction. But we ended up in divorce, and looking back, I understand why. The second marriage that I had, let me say this, just because you feel like you should be married doesn't mean that you should. Doesn't mean that you should. One of the podcasts that we had created, we talk about is Same Team. And I learned through this marriage, you can be on the same team, but have wrong teammates. We have a podcast about that coming up soon as well. Say that again. You can be on the same team, but you have the wrong teammates. Let me say that again. You may be on the same team, but it's the wrong team. There you go. So, and it's not to say anything negative about the second marriage or the second person that I had wed. It's not to say anything negative about her. She was a wonderful person, meant well, whole 9 yards. However, like I said, we didn't plan for the marriage. We did everything we needed to do to make sure that this was a beautiful wedding, and it was. Being honest, it was. But the same thing as the first marriage. I feel like by the time we got done with the ideals and the celebrations and all that kind of stuff, we was pointing in the direction of I don't. I remember her doing all of the things that she needed to do to make sure that this marriage or this wedding was perfect. You name it. Cake, venue, food, bridesmaid, ring boy, groomsmen. Everything was prepared to perfection for this wedding. The invitations, you name it, everything was prepared to perfection. The engagement pictures, whole 9 yards, was prepared to perfection again, as I say, but there was absolutely no marriage. To a point where 7 months into the marriage, I filed for divorce. And we were divorced by 8 months. Again, I want to say this. We do everything that we can to prepare for the marriage, for the wedding, but what about the marriage? People, you have to learn how to prepare for the marriage. And what does that mean? What does that mean? It means, again, you have to know what it is that your partner needs. You have to know, first and foremost, you have to know what God says about marriage. And you have to honor that. Then you have to know and understand what it is that your partner needs. And you have to be willing to supply that need. You have to be willing to meet that need. You have to know what are the boundaries that your partner may have. And you have to make sure that you respect and honor those boundaries. You have to respect and honor what your partner's experiences is, what their will is. You have to, it's some things that you're going to have to quit doing. There's some things that you're going to have to give up. It's some things that you're going to have to start to implement in order for the marriage to work. Again, we do all of these other things, but we forget all of these things that pertains to the marriage. And then we wonder why so many Christian couples end up in divorce. Again, I'm going to sit that there and let you think on that. We have a conversation about that some other time if that's something that you want to do. But the point I want to stress again, is that you do everything that you can to plan for the wedding. And you have to use that same energy when it comes to your marriage. If you don't, you will find yourself in divorce court. Again, 3 weddings, 2 divorces, 1 marriage, which brings me to the third, to my marriage, my current marriage that I'm in. Wonderful woman, wonderful marriage. I love her to life. She loves me to life. But because we didn't prepare for the marriage in the beginning, we're going through lots of storms and lots of winds and lots of rains right now because of some of the things that we didn't prepare for, that the marriage had need of in order to stay cohesive. But, no, I'm not going to say but, however, we are working on what we need to work on to make it through those things, to continue to get to the other side for which God is calling us. That's one of the things that marriage is about. I understand in my marriage that it's not always about me. She understands the same thing, and we respect and honor that. I learned about love languages, had no clue what those were in the first 2. However, I know about them now, and we work to respect and honor and fulfill each other's love language. I have that's one of the things that I forgot. Non-negotiables. We have some negotiables and we have some non-negotiables. Every relationship needs those. Every relationship needs those. And let me say this for all of us who are listening to this podcast. One of the non-negotiables is taking your partner for granted. Thinking that they're going to always be here, or that you all are going to always love each other. You may always love each other, but if you don't respect the non-negotiables, you'll end up loving each other from a distance. And so, people, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to the relationship of marriage, yes, it's awesome to plan for a beautiful wedding. It's awesome. I love weddings. They're beautiful. But you can't do that at the expense of the marriage. You can't do that and forget about the plan that needs to be put in place for the marriage. Here's another thing. Lots of people start off their marriages with marriage mentoring, marriage counseling, and you may see a pastor or whoever about marriage counseling and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff, the things that you are taught, the things that you learn in the marriage mentoring, the marriage counseling, the marriage therapy, don't be so focused on the wedding that you are not paying attention to the things that you are being taught in the marriage counseling, the marriage mentoring, or the marriage therapy. Because again, these are the situations where you plan for the marriage. Don't be so focused on the wedding that you miss the education that is needed in order to be able to cultivate and keep your marriage. Again, you all, marriage is beautiful. I mean, the weddings are beautiful, but don't forget about the marriage. That's way more important than the wedding. This is Paul, your hip-hop relationship and recovery coach, signing out again. Before I go, as usual, you be well, people. Do the next right thing. God bless you. And last but not least, if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. Signing out. Peace.